Welcome everybody to the Mix Air Rap Podcast. This is a special edition. Our normal host B Wise couldn't make it this evening, but we still want to give you guys some content. So I'm the main host, substitute for the evening. Your boy Kev, and I got my man JB here with me. Um, you know, JB is very opinionated, so the show's not gonna be boring at all tonight. JB, what's going on, brother?
What it do, JB the JJB checking in, man. It's gonna be a good show. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. It's a good Sunday evening. All Star game coming on soon.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
we'll have a great conversation. I forgot to grab me something to drink tonight. But I'm
That's cool.
something to charge me up. But
I don't think you need nothing to enhance that, man. I think you do well on your own.
yeah. Sober life living.
Right, right. So first up tonight, I think we wanna kind of talk about something that's pop culture related. But it does kind of relate to rap though, because she's married
Yeah.
to a hip hop star. um, One of the big things going on, following his Grammy speech, Jay Z made, his wife, um, she kind of surprised the world again by, a week or so later following up with this new country content. So, what's your thoughts on, what she's doing right now?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say that I definitely liked the songs. I think that they were good. Like they're just good music, listenable music. I think that Beyonce really knows what she's doing when it comes to making music in whatever category she chooses to do. Apparently she's going off of like this act one, act two, act, style album. So maybe she's going to introduce something of a completely different genre moving forward. But first of all, or second of all, because I've already stated the first of all, second of all, I say, um, I do appreciate artists, especially one of her caliber, one of, who choose to not continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. Like we've gotten the Heartbroken album. We got the I'm in Love album. We got the I'm singing this one's for my people slash rapping album. And now she's diversifying her portfolio and giving us country music. And I think, country music is really at the core of music in general, descending from blues and, and other musical origins. But yeah, I like the songs. Um, but yeah, we'll start there. We start there. What about you? What are your thoughts?
um, I think the ex musician in me is kind of like I like one, but I don't like the other. Texas Hold'em I enjoyed the 16 carriages one. I think it was badly produced. That's just my opinion. Like I said, that ex musician in me, I it's just things I hear um that I feel like artists should go the direction they should go in. But like you said, the step in this other genre of music and kind of put your, still put your little own spin to it, but respecting the genre as a whole, and you know, it's sounding good. It's not an easy thing by far. Um, and then her fan base is so amazing. Um, calling up the stations and requesting the music. I think she's what? I think they say she's in number two on Billboard singles this week. So that's just a testament to her career, what she's been doing, and just her fan base just going out there showing so much support. Um, let's just see what the rest of the album does. I think um if I'm not mistaken, maybe her fans would know, but I think she kind of already detailed what act one and act two and act three would be. So I'm not sure, but let's just see what this album does, and let's see if I would love to hear a Jay-Z verse on this album, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I I
It says up.
yeah, I would love to see more of Jay-Z and Beyonce. I mean, I know we've gotten it before, but I think they did a good job on their original rendition. But you mentioned something really interesting about the respect for the genre, and there were recent reports about um, somewhere in the Midwest of the United States, a country radio station refusing to play um, her music. And I just want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think about that? Of
I
course,
mean,
huh?
I think that I understand this statement that they put out. I don't know if they publicly released it or they just said it to the person who inquired about it. But when they was like, Beyonce is not on our list of artists that we top 40 country artists,
Yeah,
and then I think the statement has said something like, go to our other station if you want to hear Beyonce.
yeah. That
But
don't
then yeah, then the
that
fan came back and was like,
yeah,
no, she's in country now. And then
yeah,
but they was like, okay, we'll at least we will review the song to see if it fits the standard of what we think country is.
yeah,
And I can understand how people can kind of take that statement as like yeah, it's a sideways. Okay, we ain't
yeah,
gonna say no yet, but we might say no later on. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Country is very fickle
yeah.
as far
And,
as
and
who they let in.
to me, it sounds like redlining,
Uh
redlining the genre. Um, because I mean, like realistically, it's just like music is music, man, and having to survey an artist, before you put them on a radio station, it's like whenever there's a white rapper rapping, we don't say that, oh, no, 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 he might not be hip hop enough to put on the general radio station. Let me put him on the pop station, right? Like you don't see that. So I just don't think that is fair to the artist. And I know that some people shy away from having the race discussion as it pertains to genres and music, but I think that is very real. Even down to what I believe is Beyonce's approach to making this particular project, because I think that she's screaming to the academy, okay, if I don't win a Grammy because you feel as though R&B isn't popular music, but Taylor Swift keeps winning because she's making country albums, and so you're making a delineation between, oh, you can't win because country is more appealing or she had the more appealing album. Well, let me make a country album and destroy her on all country charts. So like, how can you now give her this Grammy Award album over me? And we have an album in the same genre, and I think that it'll scream at the subliminals of racism, or the subtleties of racism, in what I believe to be the gatekeeping of a standardization of music that I think the Grammys is. I think that the Grammys and awards in general, and sort of where their trend is going currently, is they're in an attempt to standardize white music as the upper echelon of music.
um
And mhm,
I mean, I can somewhat agree, but um I do think a lot of Jay-Z's statement uh has really, you know, brung awareness to the Grammys as a whole, or even award seasons as a whole, or even you could say even recognition. There were many podcasts or discussions publicly about was Jay-Z writing what he said. Um, there was one podcast in particular I saw the clip for where the young lady said, Jay-Z was wrong for saying that because it took away from Taylor Swift's moment. And then the co-host was like, but Taylor hadn't won yet. So like how could we say his comments affected Taylor Swift
Hmm.
when we didn't even know who was going to win that award at the end? So
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, a lot of times people don't want to hear the truth. You know,
Yeah.
um, sometimes the truth is so painful that accepting the truth is not an easy thing to do. So, um, I mean, like even after we did the Grammy review, and then I had the conversation with my wife like right after that, like um she was like, remember Adele when she won the album of the year, and she was like, why didn't Beyonce win this award? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I mean, like even like the week after the Grammys, I saw more articles talking about SZA getting robbed again, and
Yeah.
this
And
wasn't just and it just wasn't black publications; it was white
yeah.
publications that said it too. They was like,
Yeah.
SZA's robbed again, and I was just like, okay, I can see it from like uh, uh Essence or the Root.com or stuff like that, but it was like Rolling Stones had something. Another big pop culture publication said
Yeah.
she was robbed again. So
Yeah. So I guess moving forward, and sort of concluding the topic, what what do you expect from the Kanye? I mean, I'm sorry. What do you expect from the Beyonce album? Um, from an aspect of music quality, production, and reception by a general audience.
I think that Beyonce is an artist that she doesn't get credit for one thing, and that is always she's respectful. Like if when she releases an album, what is you got a general idea of the placement of it. If that makes sense. Like some art, like Kanye. Kanye is considered hip hop, but could Kanye be considered something else? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or even I think Taylor Swift. You said Taylor Swift earlier as country, but when the last time Taylor Swift even really made a country album dedicated to country? You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
her stuff is very poppy. Like when Beyonce makes music, is there's no question about what category is going to go in. You know what I
And
mean?
people forget that Beyonce is from Texas. Like that is the dirty
Yeah,
South.
she's from
That
Texas. Yeah,
is that is country. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
very
one of the
country.
most popular country songs ever. I believe Dolly Parton, "All My Exes Live in Texas." Or I'm sorry, that's not Dolly. Is that Dolly Parton?
You're probably
No,
right.
no, no. It's
You're probably
George Strait. "All My Exes
right.
Live
Okay.
in Texas." Like I'm
Yeah,
George Strait. Yeah,
yeah.
that's Drake.
I mean,
But
I
yeah,
mean, like I say, I think that she's gonna make an album respectful to the culture, to that culture. If it's country, if she's directing it towards country music, she's going to be respectful to country music. Um, I don't think what she's going to do is the question in my mind. It's what's the perception or reception going to be from the intended targets. That's my
yeah,
thing. That's the only thing I'm
and
really looking for. I don't. I think she's
yeah,
gonna do. I think she's gonna do a credible album, but is she gonna get invited to the CMAs? Then
and I
that's the
think
that's the thing on my mind.
it'll be interesting, and I think that this is a great time for music. It's a great time for Black music as well. Even coming off of last year where there was a large conversation of Afrobeat replacing the market of hip hop, and now we have so many artists who are making music or popular music of different categories. For instance, you have Andre 3000 basically dropping in a contemporary jazz flute project,
Right, right,
and
right.
you have an amassed group of traditional hip hop or R&B listeners listening to this now, which is a drastically different um music category. So just taking popular music into the spectrum of something different, I think will be interesting to see. Like, like just imagine like how this will be the first time I believe a because I know she's going to give us a hit. I know she's going to give us something that summer wise is going to be a song that we remember for the year. um, and um, it's going to be interesting for her to make country music popular amongst all people, because I think there will be a side of individuals who will be on the border about accepting it, like similar to the Lil Nas X song. Like, is this really country? But it is country related. Okay, we'll call it country because everybody loves it. And then there's a side of music listeners that normally listen to something else that'll listen to it now just because it's popular. So I think that'll be good to see, a popular country song that everybody's actually listening to and enjoying from both a song and album perspective. And then production wise, I really look forward to um, seeing a producer like Metro Boomin or No ID or something like that, fusioning trap and country to some degree. I really hope she gets somewhat experimental with it, even though maybe she won't. But to see something like that, I feel like would be pretty dope, pretty dope. So if
I
there
think she'll
were,
surprise you.
yeah, so
I think she'll
if
surprise you.
if there were two features, surprise features or features that you would hope for, who would they be for this album? Like if you like to on a country album with Beyonce, who would you
I
want to
mean, I
see be
already gave
featured?
you one, Jay-Z, but the
Okay,
other,
Jay-Z.
I would say SZA.
SZA, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Beyonce, SZA, those two
yeah.
voices on the song, I think would be great. Who else? Who else you got?
Uh maybe Jelly Roll. I think country music gonna like Jelly
Jelly
Roll.
Roll.
I don't think
Beyond.
country music likes him.
Do you think? Because listen, it take a lot to get a Beyonce. To be in Beyonce's stratosphere. Do you think Jelly Roll's ready for that?
But have you heard his interviews or have you heard his speeches though? Do you know where he's come from? He's
Yeah,
he's he's been there. He's been there. He's
yeah,
been involved with the 3-6 Mafia Hypnotized Minds camp, and he always shows those guys love. And but
yeah,
from what is the movie? I can't think of it, but the Grammy, the Oscar they won for it's hard out here for a pimp.
yeah,
Put them in situations where they traveled the world off that song. Now, granted,
yeah,
rap fans, we knew who 3-6 was, but when they won that Oscar, that put them on another level that um we don't hear about that. You know what I'm saying? We don't hear about the opportunities that opened up for them. Like Juicy J was the hottest rapper and producer at one time, and that goes
yeah,
that only get recognized. You know what I'm saying? The impact that he had from winning that Oscar and what he did with it. People don't talk about that. We don't talk
yeah,
about it. Nobody talks about it, but he maximized that potential, and he didn't just maximize his potential. He poured into everybody on that label. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? Like, go listen to a Country Black interview. It might be a
yeah,
hard listen. No offense to Country Black, but if you listen to a Country Black interview, he always shows J love. He always shows who's the other guy? Paul.
yeah. DJ Paul.
DJ Paul and Juicy J. He'll
Yeah,
always show them love. He'll I mean, he'll show them more love than he'll say anything negative. But if he says anything negative, in all honesty, he takes accountability for some of that because he'll talk about his issues and what he went through. You know what I mean? Like, but just just the fact that all those guys actually stayed in contact was always cool. Like,
yeah,
groups like that in hip hop, they don't make it.
yeah. I
or
mean,
or they
even
got some sort of beef at some point. But that
yeah,
those guys, even though they've done their own thing, they
yeah,
always showed each other love, and that's what Jelly Roll does. Like when you hear Jelly Roll talk, he'll always mention uh, at least one or two people on that label as being so influential to his career. And
yeah,
I think that he's prepared for it. Actually, if he got that call already, I think he showed his ass on it, and it's going to make them. It's going to make the CMAs accept her
Yeah.
because I wanted to bet you that's going to be one of the singles. I think she wanted to do her first two now, just
Yeah.
to what I'm saying, to see how people respond to it. But if she has a big name country artist now, which I think she'll be crazy not to have one. If she has a Jelly Roll or a Myron Guyton, even hell, even a Brittany Howard, even
Yeah.
though they
Yeah.
consider
And
her
that's
rock
what
now.
yeah, and that's what I was thinking. She just dropped an alternative project, and I was like, Brittany Howard, bro. Like this new project she just dropped. I'm enjoying it. It's listed as alternative, but I really like her music. I think that her and Beyonce would go great together.
Yeah. So
My dream features for the project outside of production. Um, I would say Summer Walker.
ooh,
Uh, K Michelle, because K Michelle mentioned
right.
she really wants to make country. So I think K Michelle will be great. Even though, maybe some of these people, I don't know the dynamic of Beyonce and, you know, make collaborating with other artists because she's picky.
But K Michelle did co-host the CMAs though.
Yeah. So it's just,
She
I
co-hosts
think,
CMAs, so she's accepted. She's accepted by the
yeah.
community.
So that, yeah.
She's not afraid to say she hasn't officially
Yeah.
dropped her
And then,
country album.
yeah. And then
But go ahead.
lastly, let's make it a family affair. Solange. Even though I don't know how that would
I,
work.
no, no,
I
no, no,
even
no. I actually like that though.
yeah.
I actually like that. I actually like it. But I don't know if her and her sister ever did this song together though.
They had I don't they I mean they
Off the top
haven't,
of my head, I can't think of
like
it though.
in modern times they haven't. Like maybe there's something that, like, I think she might have been on a Destiny's Child song way back in the day. Maybe, I don't know, I don't remember, but yeah, a modern day Solange, and maybe this isn't the album for it, maybe Act whatever next, but I would love to see that. Solange's music is of a particular genre that I forget the name of, but I just love her sound and her aesthetic, and I feel like she has a great voice and style
She's
and
underrated.
appeal. Yeah,
She's very
super.
underrated. She's
I
very
feel like
underrated.
she is the Andre 3000 of the R&B soul sort of community, in my opinion. Like, I noticed, like, she's back in the day, she dropped some good stuff, and today it's like she's everything she drops to me is fire, and I think her music is very timeless as well. So
I
yeah.
don't. I mean, before we leave out of this, the
Yeah.
Solange one is very interesting. I would have never thought of that. Um, I think the only way for that Solange feature to work if it's a non-ballad. It can't be a
Okay.
ballad
Okay.
for me. I don't think it can be a ballad. But so yeah.
Yeah.
So
All
I
right.
mean, we both have high hopes for the Beyonce Act Two,
Yeah.
whatever it's called, country album.
Coming in at the end of March. Is right around the corner. I believe it was the 29th of March. She
Yeah.
wasted no time. Wasted no time.
I mean, but the girl works fast. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
we'll see how it
moving
goes.
so moving forward, man, on to new music. On to new music. Uh, let's start off with the biggest topic of them all. Kanye West and the Vultures Volume 1 released. Since its release, it's received a lot of pushback, criticism, um, and protest from the industry, in my opinion. It even went as far as the distributor of the project, who you paid to distribute the album, stating that he would like it removed. The album then being removed and re-added under a new distributor. Them removing certain songs or not making certain songs accessible to certain people on Apple Music. I don't know if that's Kanye's doing for publicity or it's the actual industry trying to dim the light of Kanye West. But in opening the topic, what was your reception of the project? And then I guess we'll talk about the controversy and all that after. Let's keep it music for now.
um, I won't lie. I enjoyed it off the first two lessons, and I think now, like I was telling my daughter, this is funny because I was telling my
Mhm.
daughter last night. Um, she was just like, "What do you think about Kanye, the new album?" And I just said I really enjoyed it. I said, but as I went into my third to listen,
Mhm.
I was, I think I get to a point now is, will this be it? How much replay value does this album have? Like if we weren't doing this show, if we want, if it wasn't a show topic, I might have gave it two good listens,
Mhm.
and I don't really know when I'd have went back to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to say it's not a bad album, but how much of it is replay value? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I was at. That's where I was at going into my third listen. Was like, is this it for me, or would I pick this up? When would the next time I put this on?
Yeah. And I think
Um,
I think for Kanye albums is twofold. Like for albums in general, in order to give that added value to your particular art, there has to be some campaigning around it. And I do think that the style of campaigning around Kanye West's music currently in some ways can take away from that value because it's like all this controversy can allow you to see past how good the music actually is. But then in some ways it would allow you to remember it as well. So I think that,
but I think
that
that's a
could
I
play
think
a
that's a
factor.
disingenuous statement, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
because I mean, outside of maybe three lines on the whole album, we can actually
Yeah.
say that were actually controversial. Like I said in the group chat, like the one of the biggest album reviewers on YouTube. This guy has like over 4 million subscribers to his
Oh
channel.
yeah,
He
yeah.
said,
See, let's say the name Anthony Fantano. That review was that. Listen, bro, and this is sort of what I want to bring up with my point, and we'll get back to just analyzing the album in general, and I won't go too deep, but I think that it is very unfair for Kanye to be going through what he's going through. And don't get me wrong, the initial backlash, the initial uproar was deserving because the comments that he made in being of the stature that he is, he should have known that it would have been received in the way that it was, especially when you're talking about the Jewish community, a subsidiary of the institutions of whiteness, and a subgroup that could claim some nature of cultural struggle, which they deem everything the antithesis of what they would approve of as anti-Semitic, even though not a single Jewish person was killed because of Kanye's statement or put into some form of suffrage because of Kanye's statement. I do get how him saying what he said could lead to a belief or a growth of a group of individuals who would potentially do something like that, which is why it was wrong. But the man, first of all, Kanye's Kanye, and this ain't the first time he did something like this. And then also the man came out and apologized, and immediately you jump to, oh, he got this apology from Chat GBT. Regardless, he has a PR specialist who probably wrote it for him. But again, for Kanye, I think it was all about attention. And yes, you just said the wrong thing. And I think that it was wrong for him to homogenize an entire group of people based on a group of people who run an industry that exploit black people and who all happen to also be Jewish. And so I don't think that it's right to homogenize entire culture based on an institution of individuals. That was very wrong. But at the end of the day, the man came out and apologized. And for him to continue to be ridiculed and be buried for the comments that he made, I feel like is very unfair because uh, uh, Jerry Seinfeld or Kramer or whatever his name is can get on stage and make the most ugliest racial statement ever, who also happens to be a Jewish guy, and get right back on stage and joke about it. And black people welcome him or it with open arms and hugs, like, oh, he's a good guy. But nobody wants to stand behind the black man Kanye, because he's anti to the institution. So I just think that it's very unfair for him to go through what he's going through, for people to be taking down his albums, speaking down on him. And I think it's really about the fact that he's a nigga with money that they can't control. And regardless of how you try to bury him, the way that he's appreciated, the way that people understand and love him as an artist, you can't take that away from him. And that's true power. That's real power, in my opinion. And I say kudos to Kanye in that regard. But I do think it's very unfair what he's going through. I do think that, in my opinion, is very racist. No matter if you're Jewish, no matter who you are, it is very racist, because we have to understand racism, bigotry, prejudice, different things. Okay, while prejudice, bigotry could be derivatives of racism, we have to understand the institution of racism is a structure of power. Empowers the ability to define phenomenon and have it act in a designed manner. And anytime you can say something and do something and control a person's life, and control the way that a person feeds their family, right? That is an institution of power. And I do believe that is racial behind them, how heavily they're attacking Kanye West. And I think that it is very unfair. I think that it's very unfair. And I'm done my monologue now. We can get back to talk. We can get back to talking about the music, unless you want to chime in that regard.
I mean, I'll say something, and I'll try not to be long. Um, I think that, well, I'll touch on 2 points. The first one is Anthony Fontaine. I think it was very unnecessary for him to even put that video out saying that he doesn't feel like the review deems a review. Um, if you didn't want to review the album, just don't review the album.
Don't review it.
And if your viewers have something to say about it, just say that's an album I choose not to listen to or talk about, and then that's it. To make a 15-minute video giving all these details as to why you don't want to listen to it, I think was totally unnecessary, and I think it adds to the problem. Now,
Yeah.
my second point I will make is Kanye West is a troll.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a troll, and one of the things in society today is we have a lot of people who are trolls. And we have a lot of people who do things just to stir up controversy, just to get their name out there, just to build up publicity, just to get some attention. If you take these, I'm not going to say that no one shouldn't feel offended by that or feel some type of way about what he said, but it's not like, I, in my opinion, he didn't say it for the whole album. And if no one would have, if I wouldn't have heard the negative reviews on these certain lines, I wouldn't have been listening. I wouldn't have been paying attention to him, because to be all honest, when I listened to the album the first time, I didn't hear it. I was
Yeah.
just so engrossed in the beats and what he was like, really not what he was really saying, because I think Kanye West is at a point in his life that his lyrics don't mean as much as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So I overshot. They went over my head. But then after hearing, some reviews and what some people saying, that made me pay attention to it. And I was like, he didn't say it for the whole album. He didn't say it in every song. He said
Yeah.
two controversial things in one. He said two lines in one song and one in another song, if I'm not mistaken. But I feel like that was trolling, because that's what he does. He trolls people. He Kanye West feeds off attention. And
Yeah.
if negative attention gets you more attention than positive attention. So if you're going to keep shining this negative light on him, he's always going to stay in the public eye. And as long as he's in the public eye, he's always going to make money. I mean, like, even the new CEO of Adidas was like, why don't we have a contract with Kanye West? He would
Yeah.
do business with Kanye West again. So
And
this is
and
the
it's
company
just,
that just dropped him.
yeah, and it's crazy, because I think that they gave away a warehouse of Yeezys to the Jewish community to either sell or give away free to their churches or what have you. I believe it was something about that in an article when he mentioned that very same comment about Kanye West not being a bad person. So it's just like, it's something deeper here, or on a
Right.
higher level here about burying Kanye. And then to the
Right.
point of like Anthony Fantano doing what he did. Listen, let's call it what it is. It was a clout chase, bro. Like it was a clout
It
chase. Like
was. It was.
you
Yeah.
know, like Fantano, like you started off, your traction came from reviewing hip hop music. It didn't come from reviewing all these random heavy metal projects that nobody gives about. Because the whole aspect of an album review started around hip hop rap music. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, or rather became popular around hip hop rap music. So it's just like it was a huge cloud chase. Like he made it nothing about the music and everything about aiding and assisting or abetting in the current culture of the other side shitting on Kanye. And so my opinion on the album, I think that it is his best project since since Jesus. I think that it is his best project since Yeezus in terms of cohesiveness, in terms of production, because that's really what we listen for Kanye for. Like after My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, we listen to Kanye West for productions, samples, how he puts together songs in terms of compositions and who he has featured on the song. I think that he has a song for everything and everybody on this project. I
Right.
don't think that nothing. I don't think that there's anything that he said on the project that was super hateful or you know. I think the most controversial thing was something about they want to call me anti-Semitic, but I just had sexual relations with with the Jewish woman, something like that.
Which is very
So
trollish. It's something a
yeah,
troll will say.
yeah, and then
That's
there
the
was a
thing.
song yeah, and then there was the song "Burn" where he mentioned, basically, you all want to call me anti-Semitic, but your Jewish children still love me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, yeah, like all in all, I think that
Very
the
trollish
yeah,
lyrics.
and that's Kanye, and that's
Everything
Kanye.
is he's a
Yeah,
troll. He is a
yeah,
troll, and it's
but
no matter what.
but that production on that album was crazy. And then
But
listen,
okay, let me ask you this though.
the way that he puts talent on the map, the way that he puts talent on the map is ridiculous to me. I have always been a fan of Freddie Gibbs since the GZ days, but that verse from Freddie Gibbs, I can't stop listening to. The song with Rich the Kid, Carnival, I can't stop hearing in my head.
Well,
Carnival
let me
to
ask you this
me
then.
is the global hit. Uh-huh.
I think that bringing it back to the music, I think that one of the
Yeah.
issues I did find with I didn't know a lot of these guest features. To be honest with
Whoa.
you,
Which one
because
did you
they're
like
not
the most?
listed.
Which one did you like the
They're
most
not
that you
listed
didn't
though.
know?
Of course,
Yeah.
Freddie Gibbs, of course. I'm a huge Freddie
Yeah,
Gibbs
yeah,
fan.
yeah. Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. But
So
outside
I
of
mean,
Freddie, we know
I
we
mean,
love around here.
um, I mean, I can't give you a name to be honest with
The
you because
YG,
I don't know.
listen, what he
I'll
did
tell you
with
this though.
YG, what he did with
The only
YG,
name I
I,
know, the only other name I know was his daughter, North. I did
yeah, I
like her
love that
little
song.
verse,
I love that
but
song.
I
And
didn't
it's a
know what
song
people
that
were
kids
though.
can listen to. It's a song that kids can listen to, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like it was, and it's that's a good song. And apparently he got another song with her, and I believe either Future or Quavo. I'm waiting on volume 2. Apparently there's 4 volumes, and he doesn't care about clearing samples in the future. So we'll see how this goes.
I mean, but
Apparently,
only two things I would say that are going to be deemed negative.
mhm,
Um, I hate the build up to his albums. I think that's
yeah,
getting old. I think it's getting old.
yeah,
Like telling us it's coming, and then
mhm,
you give us
yeah,
this estimated date, and you never
yeah,
hold up to the estimated date because it's always
yeah.
an issue.
It's
Like you said, a
always
sample
yeah,
clearance. Somebody didn't turn in
yeah.
their verse. Is this, and this? I don't. I think that's getting old. That's
And I
getting
think to
old.
Yeah, and I think to him is free promo. The waiting for the album to drop on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday, and then
Right,
Monday at a
right,
random 5:56 it drops. And then also
right.
I will say, I like the listening parties, especially if they were able to be somewhere where I could actually go see it. But even I mean, listen, that's Kanye West's stilo. and I appreciate it. I don't want to take away from it. I do like the cinematic of it all, but it sometimes it's just like, all right, same old song. But there's another aspect of Kanye West's music that I do also appreciate is he releases real time music, right? Like every time you hear it with in different settings, it's a different version of the same album. So I do like the whole living album concept. And
Right,
I,
right,
I'd
right.
I'd say I'd say listen, when it drops and you got an opportunity to get it fast. The first thing I did
Yeah,
when that album dropped, I bought it. I ain't never deal with none of them
right.
problems everybody else said. So
I
um
mean, but I'll say this. And this is my second point. Um, I think I don't think Kanye pushed the needle on this one, and if that makes sense. Like,
elaborate.
everything from 808 to Heartbreaks into now, everything
Mhm.
in between that was innovative. Everything have to sound different,
Okay.
sound different. This
Okay.
is the close to me. This is the closest thing to what everybody considers the old Kanye.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't. So I think that the people who be like, we want the old Kanye. We don't want that experimental Kanye. We want the right after the soulful Kanye. I feel like
Yeah,
this is an album for them.
I agree with
And
that.
but I was just like, I was torn. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed it, because it wasn't so innovative. Because I think when he was going through his innovative stage, he made a lot of wrong turns just to go off the beaten path. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't
I mean,
I would I would
people would
disagree.
disagree. People
Yeah, I
would
would
disagree.
highly disagree because
Like, I mean,
listen,
people love Yeezus. They love A lot
Jesus
of people
is
love
my
Yeezus.
favorite project
They
to
love
date.
Pablo. They love Life of
Pablo was
Pablo.
good. What he did with Pablo
Um,
was innovative.
um, I liked Donda. I didn't like the way the Donda was
Yeah,
released. You
Donda
could
1
tell
and
that
2.
you could tell Donda, the way Donda was released wasn't his attempted, I guess, his vision.
Yeah.
It felt like they took the first half of Donda's is them listening parties, and the last half is what he had on the cutting room floor. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, and I hate the fact that there were so many great features removed, like Pusher T and some other ones. But I love the Donda too, man. Now I think about it, and I agree with you that this one may not have been as innovative, but I, and when for clarity out there, by innovative we mean transformative albums, like looking at the difference between My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Yeezus. Like it was something that brought something new to the ear of music.
Yeah,
And I
something that
think
sound
that
very different. Something that sound very
yeah,
different. Something very unique.
yeah. But I
Um,
I think I think
Something
this
unexpected. A lot of
yeah,
unexpectedness. And
but I
this,
yeah.
I think this was unexpected because we didn't know what we were going to get. But excuse me, at the same time, it was familiar. It was unexpected but familiar at the same time. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and exactly, and so like, and I think that Kanye has reached this point where he's realized what at this stage people appreciate him, and it's masterful, genius level production, and I think that was here, live, present, and you know, yeah, definitely there. Anything else on Kanye? Anything else on Kanye? You got anything else on Kanye?
um, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up, or I'll give it my approval.
Yeah,
I think those who haven't listened to it should listen to it with an open mind.
yeah,
To give at least give him the opportunity to see where he's coming from, because the negative press. I don't want to say is unwarranted. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you feel
yeah,
like he was offended by something, even if it was one word, then no one can tell you your level, of offensiveness. But like I said, I feel like it was very trollish, and I think
yeah,
he was just doing it just to get attention. And I don't think that in this cancer culture society that we should uh just give trolls more attention. Like,
yeah,
it's obvious he's an obvious troll, but like I said, I like it. if if anybody else out there feels like they have question marks about Kanye, just give it two good listens, and
Yeah,
you can kind of judge it for yourself. But overall, like I said earlier, I'm kind of torn on if it has replay value. How much replay value does it have? Am I going to play the whole album again, or am I just going
yeah,
to select certain things out and then save those in a playlist and play those? Um,
yeah.
I can't answer that, to be honest with you. I really
And I
can't answer
think
that. I'm
I,
torn.
I
I'm torn
yeah,
on
and I
that
think
aspect.
I think the same could be said about Donda in some ways, but I think one thing about the Yeezy seasons is every time you listen to a different album, it takes you back to a different like state of nostalgia in a way, and I think that a part of what this controversy does now is tell you what version of Kanye existed at that time. And so I think that therein lies the value in its replay. Um, and I think that even now, if I go back, if I even think of Donda and I go back to just what song I would play first, Jail, the intro. It's just so many songs that from a production standpoint are just so appreciated. And I would say, in my opinion, timeless. I don't know if I would call Donda a classic, but it's just nowadays when it comes to what Kanye does, it's like it's an archivable moment for Kanye. Each album he releases, and it tells you something about something, and I think that's what this album does, in giving it its value replay wise. But yeah, man. Any other new music out there that either you're looking forward to, that you listened to recently, that you're loving, can't stop listening to, or absolutely hate? um. So, anything on your end, Kev?
I'm really I don't know, man. It's so hard to say. Like, I know the Glorilla song. That's like one of my favorites right now. I play that song every day.
Man, the way that
Every
song
day
is
I play that.
getting disrespected right now, like a song
Are you
like
serious?
that, if it dropped in the early, and the reason why I say disrespected is because I don't hear it on TV right now. I don't hear it, like maybe I need to turn on the radio, but I just don't see it on social media and people talking about it as much as they should.
It's not on the
If that
radio. It's not on the radio yet
if
though.
if that song dropped in 2004 or 2000 to 2010, that song would be played everywhere the minute it dropped. That sample, what she did on that track. Previously, we mentioned female rappers are only in competition with other female rappers. They're not concerned with the general rap. I said this out of my mouth. That song right there proved me wrong. That song dropped. I'm like, yeah, she rapping, rapping, rapping. That's just a really, really great
But I've
song.
all but I'll
Mhm.
say this though. One of the things I've
Yeah,
been saying over the past, I guess, 2 years is that
yeah.
the females are running the rap music. Like, if you need a hit, it's going to probably come from a female. If you need that
Do you
danceable
mhm.
song, it's probably gonna come from a female. Like, look at look at what Meg just did. Meg just dropped 2 diss tracks,
do you
and she
think
had
that's
the internet in a chokehold off of 2 diss tracks.
do you think
And
that's
don't let
more
Cardi come back out. It's gonna be
yeah.
over.
Do you think that that's more about the culture of popular appeal though? Like I'll be real with you. Like Cardi
No,
B,
no, no.
Cardi. No, listen to me. Cardi B, Lotto. I don't feel like there's a song that they've released that I feel as appreciating to than this Glorilla track. And don't get me wrong, those artists have had hits, but when I listen to those songs, and call me patriarchal if you want to, they're female anthems. And I think that those are necessary, and I think that they're appropriate, and I think that we need to have them. But I just feel like what Glorilla did on this particular song, she gave me a song that, in my opinion, wasn't degenerative. It wasn't something that I would have an issue playing in front of my kid. She just gave me a good song. It wasn't gender specific. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that an artist has to consider that in their music. It's just when I listen to it, I just listen to it like if I listen to the Crime Mob song, Knuckin' and Buckin', right? That wasn't necessarily gender specific. It was just a woman rapping about music. And I feel like a lot of music from Lotto, Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion is very much gender specific. You know what I mean?
Um, some of Lotto's music. I think the Mariah Carey feature. I think it could be universal. And then oh, she got another feature. I cannot think of it. Lotto had I don't Lotto per se, no, but Megan and
Yeah.
Cardi, yes, I can think is more directed to the females. Um, but I think that, but I mean, but let's go back to what Tupac said. Tupac
Yeah.
said, "I make songs for the women, and the men gonna follow." This
Yeah,
is a
I
quote from
agree.
Tupac, and Tupac is
Yeah.
considered one of the best.
Yeah.
Um, I I can't agree. I can't agree with your
Drake
statement.
Drake Drake said Drake said the same thing, and we give him hell for it.
I can totally agree with that statement, but I do
Yeah.
think that if you need a banger, just like
Mhm.
a banger that can play in the clubs, you
Yeah.
can play on your radio uh that a lot of men could play in their cars.
Mhm.
Like you just said, this Glorilla song is it. Um,
Man, I really
I
hope it gets what it
outside of
deserves,
his,
man.
I mean, Megan got some. I know Megan got a lot of female songs.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. If
Megan
it
and Cardi
and we not
yeah,
just talking about we not just talking about spitting. We not just talking about bars. We
right.
talking about giving the a song
Just
like
a hit,
that.
just a
Yeah,
hit song, a hit
a
song.
hit song.
This is a
Yeah,
this is a hit song.
yeah,
Um, did you
yeah,
see the
yeah.
video?
Yes, yes, and I love it too. I love it too. I love
The
the
video's
drive.
it's a good video.
Yeah,
It's not
I,
over the top. I mean, it's
it's
very
not too
simple,
much.
but it fits.
Yeah,
It fits the song,
yeah,
and it's
and
nothing complicated. It's not
yeah.
like you said. It's nothing problematic. It's nothing
Mhm.
complicated. I mean, the beat, what she's rapping about. I mean, she's
She keeping it
flowing like
classy.
crazy.
She keeping it
She's
classy, man.
flowing like
Yeah,
crazy on it. I mean, I be in the house rapping it, and the song don't even
yeah,
be on.
yeah,
But you are totally right. I never
yeah.
and you know I had that thought yesterday. Like I was playing the song in the house, and sometimes like you can play a song, and then like you get in the car, it'll pop up. But I haven't heard the song on the radio yet. You're totally right. I haven't heard on the song on the radio
Yeah,
yet. And I think, but she got like a week or two. It's been
yeah.
out. Um,
Yeah, 2 weeks, about 2 weeks. It dropped originally 2
yeah,
weeks ago.
yeah. It's
Yes.
it's been a few weeks.
Yeah. So
So
good
yeah, that
song.
glow,
Yeah.
the
Good
the
song.
glow
Mag
song. I'm in.
yeah.
I've been listening. Dizzy Rascal. He has a new album out. I've been listening to that.
Okay.
And the 21 Savage. We didn't really get on that one yet.
We didn't talk about
Uh
21 Savage enough. No, we did
yeah.
not. Even
I'll
though
make a video on 21.
let's talk about 21 a month later though. Like 21 a month later, is it still in rotation? No.
No.
Red Rum is a good song, but I said this originally when I was talking about the 21 album. I feel like in terms of creating content for the album or being a content heavy album, it had a lot of potential, which would have given it the replay value and the appreciation that it should have received or could have received. But the fact that it started out with "This is my story of being an immigrant, growing up in Atlanta," and then just turning into another 21 Savage mixtape. So it's
Yeah.
just it it,
Yeah.
it didn't
Yeah.
yeah you know what I mean. It's like Kendrick Lamar comes from Compton, but he gives you content in music. It's not just about what I did in the streets. And even though you're that guy, give some value to it, give some content around it. So I just feel like he failed in that regard, which is why the
Yeah.
song, the album isn't being played, even though there are some songs to appreciate. Even still, I just feel like when it comes to hip hop, it's moving fast, and if you don't
Right.
find a way to stay in our ears, we're gone.
I
But
think that
Red Rum is still good, still on the charts.
I think that he could have gave his fans something. Like we
Yeah,
all know what he has gone through personally. It's been in the news out there, you know what I mean? So to open your album like that and not give us, something somewhat personal or some outside of the norm. I'm not saying your whole album had to be, such a
Yeah,
quote unquote downer, but you could have gave us at least two or three songs that kind of touched on your real life
yeah.
that didn't necessarily have to be these trap ass songs or anything
Yeah.
like that.
And
Um,
I think that he gave us 2 or 3. He also did something different with the R&B, but I just feel like it wasn't cohesive. It took too many
yeah,
turns. It took too many turns into your old music making style, and
yeah,
it didn't show enough growth. You're coming off of an album with Drake. Give us
right.
something pop
It
worthy.
felt like like you said, it felt like something we heard before.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you been listening to lately?
Um, so for me, the big thing for me this week, honestly, that I'm surprised that I love so much is this Yeet project. This Yeet project is crazy. I will say that this is the first project from Yeet that I ever actually could listen to from start to finish. And as long as the album is, I mean, there's now 24 songs in the part two version, an hour and 18 minutes of music. Yeet has always been a artist where I can't really like your music as much as I want to because I don't
Why is
hear
that though?
I because I can't understand anything you're saying when you're saying it. Like you are the
Okay.
definition of a mumble rapper. And I get that, your music is about creating a vibe. But I think now on this new project, there's more clarity. There's more artistry in the word saying and in the songwriting. So I really like it. It's not featured down, but there are some features. Man, he has one of the greatest Little Wayne verses. Well, not the greatest, but he has a really, 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 really good Little Wayne verse. If you like Little Wayne and what we know he does on songs, that Little Wayne verse is fantastic, in my opinion. So yeah, Yeats project. Again, I know that it's a hard listen for some, but check the vibe on that one. Let the vibe set in. He's got some bangers on there in terms of modern music. And then also Serpent with Feet, I'm a really, really big fan of. I've been following him for a really long time. There was a graduate of Morgan State, Limo, who does a lot of background singing for a lot of different artists, went on tour with him. I think that at some point he did some time in Baltimore. I think he actually might be from Baltimore. I think either Baltimore or somewhere down south. But Serpent with Feet, his new project, I really, really like. And it's not just this olden indie sort of soul that he would do previously, even though I really like it. He does do something a little bit more modern on this project with the Ty Dollar Sign feature, and it's a little bit more appealing to the general audience. There was a random DJ Drama album that I don't know if it dropped before, but or if this was the initial drop, but he dropped it along with its chopped and screwed version at the top of the entire discography that I really like. It has some great features on it. I don't know if it was a re-release or something, but I didn't catch it the first time around. I like it. Tierra Whack dropped a new song that I feel like is great, and I'm really looking forward to her project dropping soon, which currently has no date from what I'm tracking. And then Haji Beats dropped a new project under the moniker Jerry. So, and still sounding the same, very much Frank Ocean, Singy esque. I guess alluding to some songwriting he did at some time. I don't know. But I think I really like the Jerry project. It's entitled Love Me Sooner. But that's really. Oh, and Homeboy Sandman dropped a new single that I feel like is great. And if you really like underground hip hop, go give it a listen. Skizzy Mars arose from the dead and dropped a project Daylight, or a little EP that I recommend that I like as well. But outside of that, that's what I'm listening to currently. That's what I've given a listen to. That's what I really like. And I'm really looking forward to the Schoolboy Q album set to drop on March 1st. And apparently TDE is looking to drop from every artist but Reason this year. I think for obvious reason. I think no, that's facts. They dropped the list, and literally every artist from TDE is dropping a project this year. They're even dropping a TDE compilation album that I personally won't care for because it's not Black Hippie, and it won't include Kendrick Lamar. But Every artist with TDE is dropping a project. They're also introducing, I think, two or three new artists as well.
But
Uh,
Reason just dropped last year though.
yeah, but so did Absol, and he's giving us another project this year apparently. Even though I don't think that they'll hold true to it, because in true TDE fashion, they don't really drop music. But yeah. That's what's happening. Um,
Yeah, but Reason shot himself in the foot. He knows that.
but I do think it's unfair some of the things that he's gone through. I think that he's the more talented of the recent signees. Listen, if Reason left TDE today and dropped music, I don't think his career would fall off like Stolly's did. I think that he has some legitimately great songs. He has a
Wow.
he Oh, I'm sorry. Stolly just dropped a track with Kevin Durant that's pretty good. So, he hasn't
Wow.
completely fallen off. But I think that I think Reason could exist without TDE. I think TDE ruins careers for certain artists. I appreciate the quality of music that they produce and understanding that time will tell the value of what TDE was, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. But artists as lyrically talented as Absol, only dropping two or three projects since TDE really broke the stratosphere. I think is
Let me
unfair
ask you
to
this
music
then.
listeners. Mhm.
In your opinion, do you think that it's management or do you think it's something else?
I think that it is management 100%, and I think that is also an aspect of certain people not really wanting to sign certain deals, making sure the money's right. I think there's a lot of things, man, but one thing that we saw early on, I think that they do a good job of managing frustrations of their artists to the public, with exception to Reason and SZA in recent years. But I remember when Absol dropped not Do Without Will, but the God something album, his second album basically. I forgot the name of it, but another good album in my opinion. But I remember after he dropped that album, he was supposed to drop three projects, three EPs with Jameson that never happened or came to fruition, and Top Dog shut it down immediately. um I think because they like keeping music in a closet and giving you something and saving a song you recorded 3 years ago for 3 years later. I think that is 100% management, and I think that they do it wrong because every artist isn't the same.
Right, right, right.
So I think that is 100% management in that regard.
I mean, yeah, I've never really cared for what is his name, Top Dog.
Yeah,
I never really cared for their management. Because like for me, J Rock is my favorite out of all of them,
yeah.
and to uh to barely hear anything from him is just like the same thing with
Yeah.
Absol. So
J Rock is my favorite as well. So, I look forward to what they do this year. I think that the Schoolboy Q project is set to be really good, and I think that it'll not necessarily take us back, but remind us of how much talent that there actually is in rap music. And I think that it's unfair for TDE to be one of those powerhouses in music and not give us enough music to have all those artists that they do. Um, so we'll see. We'll see. But so so Kev, there's a recent article you sent to the group that I think is quite interesting. I think that it will charge a bit of a conversation before we close out today. Uh Go ahead and share that article for us, Kev. What's that article about?
a few months back, the New York Times had posted a very, I think it's a very interesting article. I'm surprised it didn't get a lot more buzz or at least some attention that it should have received. And I mean, for the most part, it talked about the writing process of today's rappers per se, or the lack of writing. It mentions Jay-Z and Lil Wayne, well, known non-writers, and how it influenced a lot of today's rappers. um it's I don't know. I was very intrigued by it because I didn't know that this happened a lot, but at the same time, I think for me, it explains a lot. I just feel like a lot of today's rappers are just talking or just kind of going off the top of
Yeah.
their head, um, just creating synthesis and just putting it to music and putting it out there. I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but at the same time, to to really actually, they even with the article, they had a video attached,
Yeah.
and they did interviews with some artists, and they explained their studio process. And even though that was intriguing, it still to me was like, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of these artists are not putting in the effort that they could, because there is nothing wrong with just sitting there and writing something down and rap, excuse me, and rapping it, and then go listening to what you just rapped about, and then making edits and changes, as opposed to just
Yeah.
feel like a lot of these rappers, who I'm surprised consider Jay-Z as an influence, because you never hear him talk about it. And Jay-Z is known for being one take Jay, where he listens to the beat, he does everything in his mind, and when
Yeah.
he tells you he's ready, he jumps in the booth, spits it out. Young Guru, his
Yeah.
engineer, tells you how great of it is an experience it is working with Jay-Z, because he knocks it out in one take and very little edits. And if it's an edit, it might be a beat thing. It's never him with his lyrics, as opposed to who was it? It was gosh, I wish I could think of it. But it was a rapper that did some work with Dr. Dre. And he said when he got the call to work with Dre, he called Snoop and said, "Hey, give me some advice how it is to work with Dre." No, no, it was
Yeah.
it was either Snoop or
Uh.
Game.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was either Snoop or Game. I can't remember who the guy called, but he said, "Be prepared to work."
Yeah.
And he was like, Dr. Dre would have you do a song 400 times.
Yeah. 4 different ways. Yeah. And so
400, no,
yeah.
400 different times to get it right. So
Yeah.
just imagine
Yeah.
you are a rapper that don't write down nothing,
Yeah.
and you have to
So,
work with Dr. Dre. It's not going to work. But
yeah.
it's still a very interesting article. Um, we don't get to look inside of a lot of these today's rappers' mind states. Normally when they do
Yeah.
interviews, it's about something drama related that they did, or maybe a tour they have coming up. But just to kind of sit down and see, what was on your mind when you went to the studio, or how you approach that studio session. It was different. It was very
Yeah.
different. So what did you think about it?
Yeah. So, I do appreciate the article for um highlighting a style of music making being the punch in punch out method. And so I always like to allow people to understand, because I guess the viewers may not know enough about me, and who I am and what my musical background is. And outside of starting my musical journey playing string instruments in middle school, um, I've been a person who has recorded songs or rapped since you know third grade lunch tables. And then at some point later on down the line, I got really serious with it. I dropped a few albums. I had some, regional recognition to some degree, not a lot, but there were songs that I released that, a lot of, people listened to, people knew under the moniker of Marilyn Ash J or Marilyn Ash Jordan. And then later on down the line as a student of life, which you can find on social media platforms. So I'm a rapper. I've released projects where I've written, songs, and I've actually done the punch in punch out method. And one thing I want to do is like put the whole punch in punch out method into context, because I think the article is writing from a perspective of viewing that the punch in punch out method is overused and that it's devaluing uh, uh um the whole nature of like like musical content, because the best way I can paint the picture is from the perspective of a person who plays the trumpet, um, or a John Coltrane. There are certain, instrumentalists that made music with, even James Brown. There are certain instrumentalists that made music without, knowing music. Even Michael Jackson, he didn't know how to read music or play a single instrument. He just knew how the music sounded inside of him and what he wanted to talk about. So, I think that if you're a person of substance, whether you're punching in or punching out, what you're going to create, and I think in a punch in, punch out perspective, what you create is more organic to who you are and what you have inside you than sometimes writing something down. Like if I was beefing with somebody and rapping, or had to create a beef record, oh yeah, I'm writing that down because I want to make sure my bars are barring. But if I'm making a song and I'm speaking from my spirit and I'm speaking from my mind and I'm speaking from my essence, the punch in punch out method is very effective because it's like I'm listening to something and then the words are happening in my head. And a lot of times when you're making music that way, it's almost as if everything that comes out of your mouth sounds like a hook. And so it flows more naturally. And then the aspect of writing something down and recording it, sometimes when you record it from that perspective, it sounds like you're reading it over a beat. So that's ultimately why a lot of people, I think, transition to the punch in punch out method. And I think that it makes for, like I said, more natural and aligned music with the beats that are produced. So I'm not necessarily against it. I'm actually for it, but I do think that the reality isn't that punching in and punching out makes music less than what it can be. I just feel like the artists that are making music aren't educated enough. There's a talented African American studies student at Howard University, um, who actually went to Morgan State with. Um, he wrote an article about how celebrities and artists, or he basically did some research and produced it. Um, um, he wrote an article about how celebrities and artists from the 80s and before, their music was so valued or had so much content in it because they were college educated, right? They had some degree of education behind what they were doing, and that helped make the music better. And I think a lot of what make music less than what it is today and about what it is today is the lack of education, not necessarily the style of how the music is being created.
Um, but isn't that kind of, couldn't that be perceived as somewhat contradictory? Like when you just said that, speaking from your heart
Hmm.
as opposed to not being educated. And I
Hmm.
guess for me, it's like I can understand. I feel like if when you're speaking from your heart, it can be deemed
Yeah.
emotional. And sometimes with your emotions, you're just spit. You could be just spitting out just verbiage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like you're trying to get all this stuff out. You have something you want to say. You want to get it out,
Hmm.
but it's not necessarily in the contents of a musical format. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And,
It's like
and
you're just
music.
you're just spitting out stuff,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah. And
music
it,
and poetry are two different things. Music and poetry are not one and the same. Even though the
but a,
Grammys
yeah.
has a spoken word category,
Hmm.
music and poetry are not two different things because if it's
Yeah.
vocal music should blend in with the beat, and if vocal music doesn't blend in with the beat, you can say something is wrong with it. Like one of the things, like
Yeah.
one of the things I'll say that you always tell me about, that's today's time, is
Yeah.
these rappers don't rap on beat, and you be like, oh nah, man, that's just the way it is now. But
Well,
that's not music to me,
yeah.
because
But
like I said, in my
uh-huh.
mind, I used to play music, I used to write music,
Yeah.
so if your vocals are not blending with that beat,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound right to me.
So I mean, to that extent, you sort of invalidate the instrument of the artist. Right. There was a Harvard professor, I believe it was, who broke down why Young Thug's music is good. And it's because he uses his voice, tone, and pitch as an actual instrument. So, regardless of what he's saying, the way that he's making the music, it's about fitting tone and pitch relative to the beat rather than actually saying something that adds to the nature of the beat itself. So, you know, I get what you're saying because you come from a time when the understanding of what rap and hip hop and music is has a lot to do with the content. But there was also a time before rap, right? And the whole terminology or the whole term jazz, right? You're just jazzing, you're just mumbling along, right? That's where the music comes from, right? And that's where it
but
finds its
it
appeal.
flowed with the
Mhm.
beat, even with scatting. Scatting is not even words,
I'm gonna
but
be real. You can go.
scatting
Mhm.
blends in with the flow of the beat.
You can go back and listen to some of them Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie songs, and the way that them instruments is instrumenting is hard to see that. Or even Sun Ra, the Sun Ra Orchestra, some of them songs, it's hard to see how that's musical. But from a instrumentalist perspective and the way that they understand note expression through the instrument, it's appreciated. But if you don't understand that, in some ways it's not appreciated. So you know, when you said that poetry and rap are different, or poetry and certain aspects of music are different, I think that what rap is jazz and poetry fused. So I think that while poetry can be independent of rap or music in and of itself, I think that it's an important element to the music. And not all poetry was written down, and not all poetry was necessarily about emotion. And so I think that music in and of itself is emotional expression. I think that at times, your education maybe has nothing to do with it, and it's more so about your emotion. But I just think that when you have the educational tie to the expression of emotions, you have the words and the morals to express them in the right way. And I'll give you the perfect example: the the trap rap slash gangster music that NWA made is very different than the trap rap slash gangster music that um you know uh, uh, I'm trying to think of, or that Snoop Dogg
Something modern
made.
day. Something.
Yeah, that yeah.
Um, I, 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 I see the point you're making, but I can't agree with it.
Okay.
I can see the point you're making, but I can't agree with it because I just feel like that. I feel like that's a for me. Like when I look at NWA, I don't look at NWA's gangster rap. I feel like NWA was very conscious because if 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 we want to say what was the big difference between F the police and the message? Not a big difference when you really think
Hmm.
about it. Not a big
But but
difference.
but but that's
But
because
we knew, huh?
we saw it for a message, and I feel like nowadays we don't know how to look at certain music from certain artists today for the message, because it's about something that we don't that this entire country and everyone neglects, and that is people who grow up in areas of marginalized communities and of low socioeconomic status, and they're involved with crime, and we don't view
I
what
mean,
the artistic expression is in that regard as something valued.
I think that some of some of the older, let's say the 80s and the 90s, some of the more personal stories about neighborhoods and environments were perceived to be from a realistic standpoint, if that makes sense. Like,
Right.
you know, it was a perception that Easy E was really this guy. But then we found out later we had questions about Ice Cube. They had questions about Dr. Dre and their involvement in were they really in gangs, or did they really gangbang or XYZ. Even though Ice Cube can write these songs, did he really do it? Ice Cube was a lot of people don't really know. Ice Cube was one of the first that they really questioned. They G checked him per se. Like they
Yeah.
really said, man, you really ain't that guy. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't really become a problem until the 90s when they really was questioning these people about, did you live this life or are you just a good writer that makes it seem like you live this life? Like,
Yeah.
and then, the 90s, the 90s transformed rap so much that I think, for my personal opinion, it ruined everything after. From the 2000s after, the 90s ruined it for him. The 90s ruined it for because you didn't because these rappers in the 90s painted these pictures, true or false. They painted them so well that they set a bar that you can't even
Yeah.
see no more. Like in the 90s, in the 80s, we had in the 80s you just had a classic album. But it
Yeah.
wasn't until the 90s you had the no skip classic.
Yeah.
So since then, if somebody says, "Oh, this is a classic album," and the next question is it a no skip classic? That
Yeah.
didn't happen until the 90s.
And
And
then
that
the
messed up
90s
rap
did,
all over that rest of
yeah.
rap.
The 90s
It-
did crack the seal on talking about a lot of things that if it never introduced it, I don't think we would have ever been there. Like talking
right.
about, and I think that this goes back to our original point about the exploitation of the black community and black artists and music. Um, just because it's like, and forgive me because I want to go back to Kanye for a second. Like, there's a guy who we're blocking his music, we're taking his music down because he said something that he later apologized for. But nobody's blocking or protesting or taking down the music that these same executives are posting that exploit underprivileged, marginalized communities of lower socioeconomic status, and also music that impacts the black community negatively. Like, not that I want to stop the paper or the money that a Sexy Red is making, but her music is degenerative. What her music does to children and black people specifically in terms of representation, it's as if they don't think about that when they release the music. It's just, oh, you got music that certain people going to appeal to and certain people going to like, regardless of what it's about, And it's just, I just think that it's unfair to that degree that, you know, people are willing to speak out in mass about how bad a person Kanye is,
Right.
but nobody's saying anything bad about the executives that don't think twice about the music that they're creating that could be damaging to the black community. And I don't think that music alone is the reason that the certain aspects of the black community are where they are. Not that I feel like that they represent black community as a whole, but there's an attempt to appeal to the black community when certain music is made, and
Yeah.
thus it impacts the cultural worldview of certain black people,
Yeah.
and it also alters our representation to others. Not that I really care about how other people think, but it's something that impacts you in terms of stereotypes and stigmas. And it's like these record companies don't care about that, and there's no reverence and understanding of that. And but it's like we're willing to take down a Kanye album today, tomorrow, but you gonna post a song you know that you want little kids to listen to that is only promoting promiscuity and lack of womanhood.
I mean,
I
but
think. Mhm.
but we can honest both of us can honestly say our brother, our third partner, our host, Be Wise, stamps this comment every show.
Yeah.
Every show. Big business or big corporations are have created a platform where they make money off of destruction, but they don't have to be accountable for.
Yeah,
You
and
know, it sucks.
I,
I mean,
yeah.
it does suck. Like even
I
like
think that's
you
just
bring up
a
NWA though. But you brought up
Yeah,
NWA, but you see what happened before Easy E died. Oh, Jerry Heller, he exploited us. No, he
yeah.
didn't. He didn't exploit you. Let's be honest. He didn't
And
exploit you.
we sign up for it, and I think that's the sucky
Yeah,
part about it. Like,
yeah.
but I think that it's easy for us to sign up for it because the cultural appeal. Like, we're just so happy to see somebody who looks like us in a position of notoriety that we don't question any nature of like what it can possibly do to us or what it even means. You know what I'm saying? So it's
But
just
but at the same time, that goes back to '80s rap though.
mhm,
In the '80s, in the '70s and '80s, the rappers back then they didn't look at it as, you know, they pretty much they policed the culture and the music. So it was a thing of, you know, if you say XYZ, how does it affect everybody, or how does everybody get looked at? Like, let's be honest. When the Grammys first did the rap award, a lot of rappers looked at, you know, Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff as somewhat clowns. You know what I'm saying? Because their material was very comedic,
yeah,
right? But when, you know, when they said they weren't going to televise the rap award for the Grammys,
yeah,
Fresh Prince had to go out there and protest with them. Like, until he went out there and protest with them, that's when he got the respect of his colleagues. You know what I mean?
hmm,
And I mean, like, and he didn't rap about nothing problematic.
yeah,
He was and you know, it's crazy. I mean, even though it really sounds crazy that people had a problem with it, what he was talking about, but it was just like, you know, everybody can't be this dope ass MC. You know what I mean?
yeah,
You know, but I think that's one of the negatives to how we policed the music at that time. But at the same time, I think it's something that's needed. And there's something
yeah,
I've been saying recently is like we need to get back to that point that where we either the rappers per se or just the hip hop community needs to be to police the music, to be aware of the music because um that's what, you know, it's just like everything you just said is just like you have so much going on that, you know,
yeah,
we shouldn't be have this negative look upon us though. But
yeah,
you know, I hope everyone really appreciate the content we had, and you know, we go down rabbit holes like we always do. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah,
but the producer interesting content, and the conversation is always it's appreciated because, like, you know, just like in the title, we're trying to bridge the gap between the old and the new,
yeah,
and we're trying to bring understanding on both sides so we can bring back somewhat of a unified front so we can make this great music that has spread across the world and just bring it back to the love. So JB,
yeah.
say the
And I
last
think,
words.
yeah, man, and I think the value of this podcast, and I listen to a lot. Apparently, there's 70,000, 70,000,000 podcasts out there, 70,000 podcasts out there, some large number. But I think the value of this
Across the
podcast
world
is
or just in the US?
across the world. Across the world,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
like there's some large number that they got 7 million, something like that. But there's just the boom of podcasts this year, and I think the value of this podcast is in the moniker itself. Like you said, bridging the gap between hip hop from boom bap to trap. I think the value is that we include the perspectives from all of these generations to date on music. And, some of us defend culture, some of us give a harsh critique of certain cultures based on where we come from. But on and offline, we get to this state of understanding and appreciation of some aspect of where we all come from, and we learn from each other. And I think that that's what's great about this podcast. And I hope that's what others listening can gain from this podcast as well. And those to come will gain from this podcast. And so, um, you know, with that said, man, I'd like to thank everyone out there who, you know, is going to listen, is currently listening. Um, And I just want to wish the best for everybody. Really wish Josh was here. I know you guys missed out on a great, or B Wise was here. I know y'all missed out on some great commentary on his end. We'll circle back next week. I'll try to close this out as best I can, but I just don't got that music voice. Hello and welcome to the Mix Airwax podcast. I don't got that voice. But let's just keep it short and simple, man. Thank you all for listening out there. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show.
Yeah.
We out of here. Peace.
Peace.